2022 had its fair share of challenges.
He decided to take matters into his own hands to try to avenge that death.
But throughout the year, we continued forward with our Fox 29 Save Our Streets initiative.
We want to be able to provide them with opportunities so they can get what they need so they can change their lives.
Zero homicides now. I've been affected by it, my family. I don't know anybody that hasn't been affected by it, and I have a God-given gift and talent, and it's only right to use it for good.
SOS featured people making a difference.
Inspiring somebody to do better instead of doing worse.
Families attempting to overcome obstacles, and so many impacted by the violence in our communities who simply refuse to give up.
I need the one that killed my son off the street.
But now 2022 is in the rearview mirror, and it's time to do what we can to reflect on the past while doing what we must to ensure a positive future.
We come from a place where we don't trust easily. You know, most of us don't trust easily. It's a hard thing to trust anybody in any situation.
So let's start 2023 off the right way.
Everybody should be pitching in, man. It's so easy to just sit back and watch.
If you have this hopelessness or you don't have a sense of purpose, it's much easier for you to, grow into despair and then end up, maybe making very poor choices.
Looking for solutions. Refocusing on being better and doing everything we can to make it a happy, healthy new year.
Wishful thinking maybe, but it does look like the numbers are starting to drop a bit, and if that happens, that's obviously great news, but there's a lot of work to go.
I like to believe that, it's only going to get better.
I think re-engaging and rebuilding community, reconnecting, to greet each other, to break bread together, to build and learn as a community, it's pretty powerful.
You can be better than your situation.
This is Save Our Streets, a year of hope. Now, even at what feels like our worst, there's always reason for hope. I'm Bill Anderson, and as we head into a new year, we wanted to take a look at our Save Our Streets initiative, the people making a difference, and the goals of 2023.
If I get caught up in the statistics, I'll probably ball up in a corner and cry and quit.
I'm committed to community because I'm a product of the community.
When we talk about saving our streets, we often look to recognize leaders or elected officials, and they obviously matter. But we've also found that people like Ryan Harris, Derek Copes, and others working daily in our communities, they're equally important.
This is just to show that you can be better than your situation. You can always improve upon your situation. So it's always been about community for me because of that, because I'm a part of the community.
We first met Derek Copes last year. He told the story of being a formerly incarcerated drug dealer, but more important, he shared his story of being a successful car detailer.
If I give you a 15-minute conversation, I can pull you, put you in my car, and take you to work right then and there, and groom you, and teach you.
Committed to showing young people his journey from the streets to being trusted in people's million-dollar homes with their exotic cars.
It's very important for young people to see that because the trust that I've been given is the trust that I earned. It was established. It wasn't like given to me. It was a trust that I earned. And once you earn trust, the sky's the limit.
His reason for hope and his solution to violent communities is to give his time and resources to not just show people there are better options available, but to help them get there. His commitment caught on with many of the Sixers and other celebrities he now works with.
The Sixers stepped up. I've been fortunate enough to do more work with the detailing situation with their cars. And, it just brought me into a space where I can speak to different people, tell them about what I'm doing in the community, and they've been very willing to help. And so far, so good.
Ryan Harris and his As I Plant This Seed organization is now more than 10 years into providing guidance and several years into establishing a safe space for young people, his Treehouse Community Center, one of his many reasons for hope.
And we've been the safe hub and a place to come to, find yourself, to find mentorship, to find guidance, to find love. So we've been that place this year, and I like to believe that, it's only going to get better.
That's motivation for a retaliatory shooting.
So while the headlines told the story of the very real violence, he and others continue to focus more on the lives saved than those lost.
We learn how to adapt in these environments quick to trauma, and learning how to respond, makes us as strong as we are, because we don't respond negatively. We respond with, something that can actually help the situation versus, do more harm.
Any day at the Treehouse, young people learn about business, real estate, safety, and community. And the day we were there, you could see that there is a positive circle being established as one of the former mentees in the program, now succeeding in college and business. He's now a mentor.
I learned a lot, and it helped me out. So me being around and still doing the things that I do, regardless if I'm just, mentoring or just, being myself around the kids, it's going to be beneficial for them.
Derek Copes and Ryan Harris are far from unique, but they are reasons to be hopeful. Derek is hopeful that more people will contact him if they need or want his support and guidance.
People that want the help are reaching for the help. We just can't turn our backs on them. We have to be willing to give the help that they're asking for, the help that they're making themselves available for. We can't just say, well, that's on him. He'll figure it out on his own. If you can help, do it.
And Ryan, and as I plant this seed, will just keep providing hope one young person at a time. Now the question is, will we?
We just need more people that's willing to, come, give your time. Come, talk to the kids. Come, share your resources. Whatever it is, we're looking for more of it, and we can get more change.
Now, when many think of violence in our communities, the initial place to look for solutions, fair or not, is the police and the schools. So we sat with the leaders of those two entities to find out their feelings about the year ahead.
Aside from the significant gun violence in the district, I was inspired to see that we have lots of children who come to school every day, who want to learn, they're eager to learn. Most do not cause problems in schools, and they don't commit offenses that result in out-of-school suspensions.
But it was almost as if, because we're moving in a different type of norm, in this COVID era, now that things are opening up a little bit more, it's almost like we kind of saw the sky part, and the sun was starting to shine through.
It's not a secret that both Philadelphia School Superintendent Dr. Tony Watlington and Police Commissioner Danielle Outlaw have challenges to overcome regarding violence in our communities. But what may be surprising and should be encouraging is how optimistic both remain into 2023.
Where would we be without empathy, compassion, all of the soft skills that people typically wouldn't associate with law enforcement? So absolutely, I remain optimistic. I didn't move all the way across the country to throw my hands up and say, oh, this is too hard. It's not about that.
We have a lot of really, really good kids here in the school district of Philadelphia. And I sometimes worry that because of the bad, egregious actions of a minority of students, sometimes we make assumptions about all of our students.
Both find reason for hope in the ability to connect following a pandemic that isolated us.
I'm hoping, again, with the ability to reconnect and connect with new people, that we can, in my role, continue to work with others to reinvest in our young people and remind them that they are of value, that they are loved, they do have contributions to their communities, and that there is a reason for hope.
Both recognize that although they are leaders in their field, that safety, that requires all of us.
And we change the environment and we change the culture student by student and adult by adult. It takes a lot of hard, intentional work. The new year also makes me think about how we engage with parents who are our children's first teachers and how we engage with grassroots organizations.
And both have specific plans to move our region forward.
Since safety is our top priority, I'm really excited about expanding Safe Paths, where we have adults in school communities who help oversee children as they go to and from school. We are increasing the number of law enforcement officers in school communities.
As 2023 is just beginning, and obviously the work is still to be done in two of the most important areas, potentially contributing to a better 2023, the leaders own their responsibility and they maintain hope.
There's a reason why the trust is strained. Absolutely get that. But in the end, we're here. And there is a need for for law enforcement still. Ultimately we want to put ourselves out of business, but we're still here. And I want to be able to provide the best service that you ever get if you ever have to call us.
I'm inspired by the opportunity for us in 2023 to position ourselves to become the fastest improving large urban school district in the United States of America. We absolutely can do it in Philly.
Politics and politicians play a large role in trying to make our streets safer. So we sat down with political analyst Bruce Gordon to discuss how 2022 looked politically and if there's reason to be optimistic heading into 2023.
The murder numbers in 2022, while still horrendously high, were down by about 46 murders over the previous year, about an 8% drop from 2021 to 2022 in the number of murders in the city of Philadelphia. That's the biggest percentage drop, the first real meaningful drop in murder numbers since 2012 to 2013. Now again, absolutely nothing to brag about, but it does suggest that as society gets back to a normal sense of normalcy, or maybe this new normal, as we move out of the pandemic and all the societal and economic upheaval, maybe these numbers start to come down for reasons that may be completely separate from new policies or tweaking the staffing of police officers in this neighborhood or that neighborhood.
2023 will be a year with multiple candidates campaigning to be the next mayor. So does that represent an opportunity for all of us to hold them accountable, to present specific plans to make our streets safer?
Everybody's got to come up with a way to say, everybody's talking about crime, but I'm the one who actually has a plan. My special skill set, my background, my intelligence, my street smarts give me the unique position to really solve this problem. I don't know that any of them are able to really follow through on that.
But regardless of the candidate, there are some obstacles that all will have to face.
You've got to get more police on the street. You simply do not see many police officers, in some cases any police officers, walking a beat, just sort of out there, kind of keeping an eye on things. You just don't see it. And the numbers bear that out. This is a police department that is down from where it should be in terms of staffing, and some of those who are technically on the police department are on this medical leave program, this fairly controversial medical leave program that appears to be a program that's been taken advantage of to some degree in Philadelphia. So, as a political candidate and then as a mayor, how do you solve that? That takes money, and that's always going to be a challenge.
We also have a new governor with a law enforcement background and a local connection.
Josh Shapiro knows the city of Philadelphia, understands it, I think, pretty well, and so that can't hurt. But there's always going to be the battle between the interests of the city of Philadelphia and the interests in the rest of the state, the more rural parts of the state, lawmakers who feel like Philadelphia wants to just shut down any access to firearms and unreasonably bash away at the Second Amendment, and that any dollars sent, any tax dollars from their hardworking rural Pennsylvania taxpayers, any tax dollars sent to Philadelphia are being flushed down the toilet. And so Governor-elect Shapiro is going to have, and Governor Shapiro is going to have the usual challenge of trying to convince these lawmakers that we can make a real difference in a city like Philadelphia if you'll allow me to do X and Y and Z, some of which they're not inclined to allow them to do.
Are you hopeful? Like, is there a reason for us to be hopeful, and what do we need to do to kind of do our part to be hopeful that things will get better?
I think people have to keep advocating for change. They have to hold these lawmakers, and in this case, the chief executive of the city, the mayor, they have to hold their feet to the fire. They can't simply allow it to be business as usual. We're not going to actually have technically new leadership until January of 24, when the new mayor would take office. But I do think a new face, some perhaps fresh ideas, certainly can't hurt. And I do think that there are going to be some societal things that are going on again as we move out of the pandemic years. And we're already starting to see that with these murder numbers down somewhat. Too high, but somewhat. And I do think that that is going to be trending in the right direction. I'm certainly hopeful about that.
Now, numerous solutions to gun violence have all been discussed, but sometimes finding hope requires us to be proactive and explore long-term or innovative solutions like our next two groups present.
I mean, you know, part of teaching is not just the content and the concepts, there's also inspiration. You know, it helps young people develop a sense of purpose. And if you have this hopelessness or you don't have a sense of purpose, it's much easier for you to, you know, grow into despair and have, you know, little direction.
Sharif El-Mekki has been an educator for most of his life, with keeping young people safe as one of his primary goals. But lately he has the same goals, he's just taking a different path.
Our high school youth came up with this campaign, We Need Black Teachers.
An initiative to train and place more black teachers in largely inner city schools because research has proven that their presence leads to a reduction in violence and an increase in performance.
With inspiration, with motivation, with mentorship, you know, that provides something very different. You know, a guiding light, a guiding star.
More black teachers in the lives of mostly minority students is a long-term potential solution to gun violence, but one Sharif and his colleagues believe must happen.
We have to invite our youth to come and solve issues and problems that are complex, that are entrenched, but invite them to solve problems that they had no hands in creating. And if we're able to do that, then that shows our wisdom by listening. We become wiser by listening to the youth.
Another proactive solution to gun violence and reason for hope lies with us in the media.
Truly do believe that better gun violence reporting can prevent gun violence, and certainly it could minimize sort of, you know, potential harms that it may be causing.
Trauma surgeon Dr. Jessica Beard and longtime journalist Jim McMillan are part of the Philadelphia Center for Gun Violence Reporting, an organization we've become familiar with that simply asks if media changes the way we report violence, could we reduce it?
This initiative has been an effort for me to explore that question and to see what the best practices might look like, how we can implement them, and if they'll really make a difference.
We met them earlier this year and were introduced to the concept, but since then, they're encouraged because they have research that supports their perspective and a year of getting media entities on board.
Somebody from every news organization is involved. We've got the structure to help them out. We've got the networks to bring people together. If what we're doing works, it'll make a difference.
It may not be obvious to some, but the concept makes sense.
Number one, if you feel fearful when you're watching the news, we had one person connect that directly with the increased gun purchasing that we saw in 2020.
They believe coverage can lead to more guns and fewer solutions.
If you're constantly telling the story of gun violence as an episode and the storyteller is law enforcement, well, it makes sense that people would see law enforcement as the only solution. But if you have different narrators, or if you have, you know, the perspectives of Fire Major people or people like us, you know, who have other solutions to offer up, I think that people can see that there are other opportunities to get involved in gun violence prevention or to support, you know, the work that we're doing or other folks who are involved in public health and prevention.
Sharif El-Mekki, Dr. Jessica Beard, and Jim McMillan all represent innovative reasons to feel encouraged.
You know, James Baldwin said hope is invented every day, but usually that hope that's invented is in the words of our youth. And if we're not listening to them, and they're the closest to the issues that we're trying to solve, and we're trying to do that without them, it's to our own peril.
Creative solutions to gun violence and reasons to believe that 2023 can be a year of hope. Thanks so much for watching. And if you want more information on any of the people featured, you can head over to our website, fox29.com. The Save Our Streets initiative will continue, and we hope you'll stay with us on this journey. I'm Bill Anderson, and on behalf of everyone who helped put together this special, thanks so much for watching.